MTC. Unit 05 No analysis. Comma. Creativity is a step further on from imagination. Imagination can be an entirely private process of internal consciousness. You might be lying motionless on your bed in a fever of imagination and no one would ever know. Private imaginings may have no outcomes in the world at all. Creativity does. Being creative involves doing something. It would be odd to describe as creative someone who never did anything. To call somebody creative suggests they are actively producing something in a deliberate way. People are not creative in the abstract, they are creative in something, in mathematics, in engineering, in writing, in music, in business, in whatever. Creativity involves putting your imagination to work. In a sense, creativity is applied imagination. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05 No 01. Comma. Many marine species including oysters, marsh grasses, and fish were deliberately introduced for food or for erosion control, with little knowledge of the impacts they could have. Fish and shellfish have been intentionally introduced all over the world for aquaculture, providing food and jobs, but they can escape and become a threat to native species, ecosystem function, or livelihoods. Atlantic salmon are reared in ocean net pens in Washington State and British Columbia. Washington State, British Columbia. Many escape each year, and they have been recovered in both saltwater and freshwater in Washington State, British Columbia, and Alaska. Washington State, British Columbia, Alaska. Recreational fishing can also spread invasive species. Baitworms from Maine are popular throughout the country. Maine. They are commonly packed in seaweed which contains many other organisms. If the seaweed is discarded, it or the organisms on it can colonize new areas. Fishing boots, recreational boats, and trailers can pick up organisms at one location and move them elsewhere. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05 No 02. Comma. Before the modern scientific era, creativity was attributed to a superhuman force. All novel ideas originated with the gods. After all, how could a person create something that did not exist before the divine act of creation? In fact, the Latin meaning of the verb inspire is to breathe into, reflecting the belief that creative inspiration was similar to the moment in creation when God first breathed life into man. Plato argued that the poet was possessed by divine inspiration, and Plotin wrote that art could only be beautiful if it descended from God. Plato-Plotin. The artist's job was not to imitate nature but rather to reveal the sacred and transcendent qualities of nature. Art could only be a pale imitation of the perfection of the world of ideas. Greek artists did not blindly imitate what they saw in reality, instead they tried to represent the pure, true forms underlying reality, resulting in a sort of compromise between abstraction and accuracy. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05 No 03. Comma. I was brought up to believe that if I get lost in a large forest, I will sooner or later end up where I started. Without knowing it, people who are lost will always walk in a circle. In the book Finding Your Way Without Map or Compass, author Harold Gatty confirms that this is true. Harold Gatty. We tend to walk in circles for several reasons. The most important is that virtually no human has two legs of the exact same length. One leg is always slightly longer than the other, and this causes us to turn without even noticing it. In addition, if you are hiking with a backpack on, the weight of that backpack will inevitably throw you off balance. Our dominant hand factors into the mix too. If you are right-handed, you will have a tendency to turn toward the right. And when you meet an obstacle, you will subconsciously decide to pass it on the right side. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05 No 04. Comma. It has long been held that the capacity for laughter is a peculiarly human characteristic. The witty Lucian of Samosata, 2nd century AD, noted that the way to distinguish a man from a donkey is that one laughs and the other does not. 2. Samizadolution. In all societies, humor is important not only in individual communication but also as a molding force of social groups, reinforcing their norms and regulating behavior. Each particular time, each era, in fact each moment, has its own condition and themes for laughter. Because of the major preoccupations, concerns, interests, activities, relations, and mode prevailing at the time. The ultimate goal of anyone who studies another culture, such as ancient Greece, is to understand the people themselves who were more than the sum total of monuments, historical incidents, or social groupings. One way to approach this goal directly is to study the culture's humor. As Goethe aptly observed, men show their characters in nothing more clearly than in what they think laughable. Goethe. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05 No 05. A child whose behavior is out of control improves when clear limits on their behavior are set and enforced. However, parents must agree on where a limit will be set and how it will be enforced. The limit and the consequence of breaking the limit must be clearly presented to the child. Enforcement of the limit should be consistent and firm. Too many limits are difficult to learn and may spoil the normal development of autonomy. The limit must be reasonable in terms of the child's age, temperament, and developmental level. To be effective, both parents, and other adults in the home, must enforce limits. Otherwise, children may effectively split the parents and seek to test the limits with the more indulgent parent. In all situations, to be effective, punishment must be brief and linked directly to a behavior. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05 No 06. In addition to the varied forms that recreation may take, it also meets a wide range of individual needs and interests. Many participants take part in recreation as a form of relaxation and release from work pressures or other tensions. Often they may be passive spectators of entertainment provided by television, movies, or other forms of electronic amusement. However, other significant play motivations are based on the need to express creativity, discover hidden talents, or pursue excellence in varied forms of personal expression. For some participants, active, competitive recreation may offer a channel for releasing hostility and aggression or for struggling against others or the environment in adventurous, high-risk activities. Others enjoy recreation that is highly social and provides the opportunity for making new friends or cooperating with others in group settings. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05 No 07. Our world today is comparatively harmless. We don't have to be careful every moment that a tiger is behind us. We do not have to worry about starving. Our dangers today are, for example, high blood pressure or diabetes. To be clear, we have a Stone Age brain that lives in a modern world. Because of this, many situations are considered a threat by our brains, although they are harmless to our survival. In the past, danger meant we either had to flee or fight. If we have an appointment but are stuck in a traffic jam, that does not really threaten our lives. However, our brain considers this a danger. That is the point. There is no danger, but our brain rates it as such. If we have an unpleasant conversation with our partner, it does not threaten our lives, and we do not have to flee or fight. The danger is an illusion. Our Stone Age brain sees a mortal danger that is not there. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05 No 08. The original idea of a patent, remember, was not to reward inventors with monopoly profits, but to encourage them to share their inventions. A certain amount of intellectual property law is plainly necessary to achieve this. But it has gone too far. Most patents are now as much about defending monopoly and discouraging rivals as about sharing ideas. And that disrupts innovation. Many firms use patents as barriers to entry, suing upstart innovators who trespass on their intellectual property even on the way to some other goal. In the years before World War I, aircraft makers tied each other up in patent lawsuits and slowed down innovation until the US government stepped in. 1. Much the same has happened with smartphones and biotechnology today. New entrants have to fight their way through patent thickets if they are to build on existing technologies to make new ones. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05-09. In this world, being smart or competent isn't enough. People sometimes don't recognize talent when they see it. Their vision is clouded by the first impression we give, and that can lose us the job we want, or the relationship we want. The way we present ourselves can speak more eloquently of the skills we bring to the table, if we actively cultivate that presentation. Nobody likes to be crossed off the list before being given the opportunity to show others who they are. Being able to tell your story from the moment you meet other people is a skill that must be actively cultivated, in order to send the message that you are someone to be considered and the right person for the position. For that reason, it's important that we all learn how to say the appropriate things in the right way and to present ourselves in a way that appeals to other people, tailoring a great first impression. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05 Number 10. The practice of medicine has meant the average age to which people in all nations may expect to live is higher than it has been in recorded history, and there is a better opportunity than ever for an individual to survive serious disorders such as cancers, brain tumors, and heart diseases. However, longer lifespans mean more people, worsening food and housing supply difficulties. In addition, medical services are still not well distributed, and accessibility remains a problem in many parts of the world. Improvements in medical technology shift the balance of population, to the young at first, and then to the old. They also tie up money and resources in facilities and trained people, costing more money, and affecting what can be spent on other things. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05 Number 11. It turns out that the secret behind our recently extended lifespan is not due to genetics or natural selection, but rather to the relentless improvements made to our overall standard of living. From a medical and public health perspective, these developments were nothing less than game-changing. For example, major diseases such as smallpox, polio, and measles have been eradicated by mass vaccination. At the same time, better living standards achieved through improvements in education, housing, nutrition, and sanitation systems have substantially reduced malnutrition and infections, preventing many unnecessary deaths among children. Furthermore, technologies designed to improve health have become available to the masses, whether via refrigeration to prevent spoilage or systemized garbage collection, which in and of itself eliminated many common sources of disease. These impressive shifts have not only dramatically affected the ways in which civilizations eat, but also determined how civilizations will live and die. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 05 Number 12. Although we don't know the full neurological effects of digital technologies on young children's development, we do know that all screen time is not created equal. Screen time. For example, reading an ebook, video conferencing with grandma, or showing your child a picture you just took of them is not the same as the passive, television watching screen time that concerns many parents and educators. TV screen time. So, rather than focusing on how much children are interacting with screens, parents and educators are turning their focus instead to what children are interacting with and who is talking with them about their experiences. Though parents may be tempted to hand a child a screen and walk away, guiding children's media experiences helps them build important 21st century skills, such as critical thinking and media literacy. 2-1. MTC. Good job.